Fresh from the garden, right to the kitchen. Let's get cooking with Miss Joyce.
Hey everybody, Miss Joyce here again, and we're visiting the garden. I think we were here about 3 weeks ago, and it's amazing how it's grown. It's a little droopy today because it's pretty hot out here. You also might recognize my hat from Miss Michelle's family craft when you guys made hats and fans and everything. But I wanted to see the garden again because we have some amazing squash growing right now. We've got, it's called Sucrine du Berry. It's a French squash, but it's a lot like butternut squash. So we've got a big, huge one here. We've got another one here. Got one growing in the back and a green one growing over here. This squash is growing all over. In the back, you can see corn and green beans. In the front here, we've got some oregano, which might be nice to put on our squash when we cook it. But anyway, this is the library garden, and you are welcome to come over here, and if there's a ripe squash, you can certainly pick it. It's ripe when it's this tan color over here. I'm going to see if I can pick this up. It's really heavy. Look at that. Okay. That one is ripe, and if you want to have a big dinner, that's a good squash. So today we're having a garden to table, garden to kitchen event, and so I'm showing you the garden here. It's a community garden for people to come to. I am going to be planting some lettuce and some walking onions. You might want to come by and see the walking onions after they get started. Kind of fun. A green stalk grows up. A little onion set grows up here. It gets heavy. The stalk comes down. Grows another one that grows up, and it just keeps walking across the garden. Fun stuff. And I snip the smaller ones, the smaller green onions coming up, to put in soups or in all kinds of food that you make. If you like green onions, salads, all the kinds of stuff. So in just a little bit, we're going to head over to the rec center. I picked one of these squashes, and we're cooking up one right now, and I'm going to show you how to go from picking a squash in the garden to taking it into the kitchen to cook and have for part of a meal. So I'll be putting my chef's cap on in a little bit, and join us in the kitchen at the rec center. Thank you. Alright, so here we are at the rec center kitchen, and I had picked a squash earlier, and it's a nice kind of tan color. It may have needed to be a little bit darker. This is a copy of the seed packet, and this was from the seed library here at the library. And before I cut this squash open, I could see that it had a lot of seeds in this picture. But when I cut mine, there were hardly any seeds at all. So this may have been a little bit underripe. But I cut it in half, not very well, because I had a knife here that I wasn't used to. But it's still pretty tender. So what you do is you cut your squash in half. If it's got seeds, you scoop the seeds out with a spoon. And you want to hang on to the seeds because you can separate the seeds from the flesh that's surrounding it. Soak them a little bit, put them on a piece of parchment paper or just a cookie sheet, and you can roast the seeds and eat them just like pumpkin seeds. You can add a little garlic or some salt or something if you want, but those are pretty good. They got lots of protein. When you get ready to cook your squash, what you want to do is take a knife, and you're going to just poke some holes. Just kind of slice some little holes there. That just keeps it from like bursting when it gets too hot. You're going to cook your squash upside down in a glass pan or a casserole dish or something like that. And usually what you want to do is take some butter and spread over the bottom of the dish that you're going to cook it in. You can also take some spices to put on it. I used Mrs. Dash on mine, and I also I could have grabbed a little bit of oregano from the garden over there, kind of sprinkled that on it too. So I also have some fresh basil from my garden that we could have added to that. But I've got some little hot pads here, and I'm going to pull out the squash that I started cooking. It's definitely not done, but you can see how I put it in the pan. Here it is. You can see it darkened up a little bit in the cooking process. Butter on the bottom there. I'm going to turn it over so that you can see it. And there it is right there. I added some Mrs. Dash to it. And I'm just going to kind of, it's not quite done, but it's almost done. And supposedly this has a nice, sweet, buttery taste, just like butternut squash. So I'm going to turn it back over, put it back in the oven. And let it cook a little bit longer. Probably takes about an hour. This has only been in for about 45 minutes or so. And I have it on 375. And then it should be cooked in another 20 or 30 minutes or so. So this was my garden to kitchen program. If you're growing a garden, you can use your food in your garden for all kinds of things. Hopefully we'll get some corn. Maybe we can have a program with our corn that we have over there. Thank you very much for joining us for Family Craft today, and hope everyone's safe and enjoy your garden and enjoy your food. Thank you.
Fresh from the garden, right to the kitchen. Let's get cooking with Miss Joyce.